Welcome to the Three Count Podcast, where and I'm going to channel my inner William Regal here, War Games. I'm your host, Dylan Chambers, and joining me is the honorary Heart, Ben Hobden.
Hey.
Benny, welcome to the show.
Good to see you, Dylan. It's been a long week, mate. We've struggled to get this going, but we're doing it now.
We have. We know Survivor Series was a few days ago, but we're still going to give you our reactions. There's still a lot happening in the world of wrestling, so sit back and enjoy. We're going to take you through the card match by match, give our thoughts and ratings, but we're going to have a fun draft this week. In honor of War Games, we're going to draft the best cage match spots. Now, that can include cages, Hell in a Cells, chamber matches, War Games matches, you name it. So if it involves a cage and a high spot, we're going to draft it. Now, make sure you follow us on the socials at 3CountPod on Twitter and Facebook, at 3Count Podcast on Instagram. Watch you on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and Spotify and Apple Podcasts, hit that follow button. Or if you have any feedback or suggestions for drafts, please hit us up, 3countpod@outlook.com. Now that we've got, the necessities out of the way, Benny, let's get to the news. What do you have for me?
Mate, the biggest news that I've read this week is Randy Orton. His injury looks like he's going to be out for a long time, and they're not sure he's going to come back.
Very sad for Randy. I mean, they had I know you were skeptical of it, but they had a good thing going with him and Riddle.
Yeah, and it was going to lead to something. We all know it was going to lead probably to WrestleMania and stuff like that. So they've gone on another tangent now. But look, it's not looking good for Randy. There's been stories that he's had some injury. The injury is as bad as a few other people that haven't come back. So I'm a bit worried.
Very sad if we never see Randy wrestle again.
Oh, he's one of my faves. He's number 5 all time for me. So I mean,
he's almost on the Mount Rushmore.
Almost. Just build another bit of the. It's all right. Don't worry about it. We'll just chuck him on there.
Well, let's stick with injuries now. Robert Roode has just undergone successful neck surgery. So he'll be out for a little while longer, but hopefully we'll see him back fighting fit. Someone who hasn't been injured but has been out of action, Charlotte Flair, has begun training again. She's been training with Zoe Stark and Alba Fire in NXT, so hopefully gearing up to a bit of a return soon.
We've been calling it for a while now, so you'd think she's going to be finally coming back. Obviously, everybody's thinking Rumble, but I don't want her to win the Rumble. So, we'll talk about that when Rumble comes around, but hopefully she's back before then and builds up something before that.
Absolutely. Charlotte Flair. They've been teasing with vignettes for the past couple of months. So
yeah,
got to happen soon. Another person reportedly on their way to WWE is Eric Young.
Yes.
Maybe to pick up the sanity link again, Nikki ASH, who is not Nikki ASH anymore, to come back, her husband was in Sanity as well. Could they reform Sanity?
Well, there was big talk of him coming back, but possibly only as a producer as well. So that's what he does have a good wrestling mind and stuff. So he might not be a wrestler, maybe a producer. So that could be interesting.
Absolutely. Apparently, they brought back the Brian Kendrick as a producer for Ronda Rousey's match at Survivor Series as well, giving him a bit of a tryout, I guess. So
God
maybe
knows that didn't work, and we'll talk about that soon. But
yeah.
Another person back, Tegan Knox.
Tegan Knox returns. Took the words out of my mouth, Benny. Yes, so bit of an unexpected one there.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Like, obviously, Triple H does like bringing people back, but I mean, I wasn't expecting that.
No. Now we had Sarah Logan return. She has undergone a WWE name change. She is now Valhalla, which I don't mind. It fits in with the Viking Raiders thing. I'll accept that one.
It does, but
not great. But will we see her even wrestle? Maybe she's just kind of going to be, the Scarlet kind of character with the Viking Raiders.
She wasn't a bad wrestler, to be honest. So, I'd prefer her to wrestle, but who's she going to wrestle against? They need to do like a bit of a 3-way thing, 2 guys, her. So we'll see how that goes.
They'll have to work her in. Now Ricochet won the WWE World Cup. Definitely an upset.
In the
I
semi, it
know
was the
that because I
upset.
put money on Santos Escobar to win, and that did not come about.
Well, I think the upset was more in the semi, was it not?
True, true. In saying that, I should have known better because USA, they want USA to win the World Cup.
Didn't
They're
Shane
not,
McMahon win the last one?
yeah, yeah.
Come on.
Then they certainly didn't win the World Cup soccer. Go
Oi.
Netherlands. Um, but
Aussie,
yeah,
Aussie. Oh,
it made sense to me after the win. I was like, they're not going to have USA lose the World Cup in WWE. In any case, we move on. That call from Triple H. Now, another call from Triple H is if you haven't watched the post Survivor Series press conference, it was actually kind of a bit of a fun watch, especially the Triple H part. Now, he was talking about Hell in a Cell and removing it as a pay-per-view, but possibly keeping Money in the Bank and keeping Money in the Bank, and there was another he was going to keep as well. Maybe he's talking about War Games, but he wanted to say if you can challenge a person to that match, then it shouldn't be a pay-per-view.
Perfect. I've been saying
So
that for how long?
exactly, I can challenge you to Hell in a Cell, so it shouldn't be a pay-per-view, it should be a match. But I can't challenge you to an Elimination Chamber. I can't challenge you to a Money in the Bank. So they have to stay as they are, which made sense to me. It was a good point by Triple H. So no more Hell in a Cell.
Money in the Bank should still be at WrestleMania, though.
Yes, well, we will see. Now, speaking of WrestleMania, apparently they're moving the WWE draft, which they kind of have at odd times, but they're going to do it post WrestleMania, which absolutely makes 100% sense.
Agree.
So yeah, WWE draft post WrestleMania. Benny, excited to see the return of Lacey Evans?
No, not at all. Have never been excited about her at any stage in her career.
So they've repackaged Lacey Evans for the 458th time. Although it's a repackage, which is kind of the same as one of the old packages. So
over and over again. It's a good Nelly song, over and over again.
That it was, but I don't. Time to cut bait.
Yeah. The only time I liked Lacey Evans was when she made out with Ric Flair just to get at Charlotte, and they were going to do the whole baby angle or something like that. That was going to be fun. Not really, but that was the best kind of situation. That was
Ric Flair's back on good terms with WWE. Let's go back to it. Let's have a 2-year-old there and just say, hey, look.
Is he, though? Because I have also heard that he's going to come out and give his own response to that whole Flight from Hell thing. He's going to, after that.
So WWE Network have done a documentary with him.
Really?
Which is just about to launch very soon. So, and he says his side of the story will come out. So I guess it's going to be on the network. Now, speaking of the network, speaking of the network, the network will cease to be very soon. WWE has moved all of its services over to Binge, KO, Foxtel. So as of today, we had the first live Raw on KO, which was very exciting. Yeah. And also see it on Binge, on Foxtel. So, and all the premium live events included in your subscription now.
And Stephanie McMahon came out and said that she's looking at doing a stadium show in Australia.
Absolutely.
So that's massive.
She was talking about the Foxtel deal and what we can do to increase viewers over here. And a stadium show came straight out of her lips. So watch this space.
Bring it all to you guys.
That's right. There could be a big stadium show in Australia. And, it looks like they might be planning one for India very soon as well.
Does that mean we get the modern day Maharaja versus Roman?
Possibly.
It has to be, doesn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. In what's the bamboo structure?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the Punjabi prison match.
The Punjabi prison match. Hopefully we do not see that. But in any case, that's exciting. Hopefully we get a stadium show over here. And, we've had some great stadium shows over here in the past. The Super Showdown had a great card. I mean, it probably wasn't the greatest pay-per-view ever, but, to be able to see The Undertaker and Triple H and all those guys. And the Global Warning Tour many, many years back, we had Brock and The Rock and Triple H and Stone Cold. So it would be good to see another stadium show come over here.
Definitely.
Well, Benny, let's move on to the Survivor Series card. We kick things. What did you think of as a whole of the Survivor Series pay-per-view?
Look, looking at my statistics right here in front of me, it wasn't great. When I watched it, I enjoyed it. And then when I looked at each match back and then gave them a rating and I looked over it overall, it was a struggle, to be honest.
Have we been influenced by the really great pay-per-views we've seen in the Triple H era? Like, if we saw this War Games, the first one out of the Vince McMahon era, would we have gone, that was freaking amazing?
Probably, yeah. Probably. Yeah. But like I said to you a couple of weeks ago, the regular weekly shows of WWE are great, but AEW's regular weekly shows struggle. Whereas AEW's pay-per-views deliver and WWE pay-per-views are like good recently, but have been a struggle in the past. And this one went back into the struggle situation for me.
Okay, absolutely. Well, let's get into the card. We kick things off with the women's War Game match. Belair, Bliss, Asuka, Mia Yim, and Becky Lynch against Damage Control, Ripley, and Cross. Belair and Kai started for the teams. Cross and Bailey, they came in and brought a lot of weapons in. The match was mayhem, lots of weapons used, a few big spots, some of which didn't really work. But it all ended when Becky hit a leg drop from the top of the cage on Kai and Sky to get the pin. What'd you think, Ben?
But look, the leg drop was impressive. There was a couple of good spots. But for me, it felt like there was just too much in the ring that didn't get used. And it just wasn't that whole factor. Like, why did they bring in so much and not use it? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I thought there was way too much stuff in the ring. For me, it was like, I didn't really want them to use it. I just wanted there to be less stuff in the ring.
Yeah, like just wrestle. Like just use your moves and like let's just try and push that women's evolution further by doing what you need to do. They tried to bring in too much and just tried to make it more what the fans wanted without being what the fans wanted.
Yeah, I'm not sure it needed 740 kendo sticks in there, but
yeah, fair.
So look, what did you rate it?
Overall, I gave it a 1.5, but I probably should have gave it a 1.
I gave it a 1.5 too. Like, it did what it needed to do.
Yes.
It's kind of ugly, kind of slow at points, too many weapons, but because it did what it needed to do and it was still enjoyable, and the leg drop from the top of the cage was cool, I gave it a 1.5 count.
I was just about to say the extra half count probably came from the leg drop off the top of the cage of the table. That's probably what pushed it over.
Now, I was speaking about the post pay-per-view, or PLE as we should call them these days, press conference, and Triple H was actually talking about Becky and him going through that spot and how, she's only just come back from injury. And she straight away wanted to do that spot. And he was just like in awe that, she climbed up and wanted to do it. So it's kind of cool. You get that, he's being real.
Yeah, but I guess Becky is also like a team player. Like she's for the company. You know what I mean? I guess, and her husband is as well. Seth's for the company. We know Seth's for the company. And Becky seems to be that same kind of way. So I guess they're two people that Triple H can lean on.
Absolutely. What do we see happening with the Raw Women's title from here, Benny?
Well, obviously, today we had a couple of elimination matches, which the winners weren't people who I expected.
No, we had Alexa Bliss and Bailey.
Yeah, but we also seen the stare down between Rhea and Becky. So I guess it's one of those things. Where do they go from here? Obviously, I think they're still going to lean into Bailey versus your mate Bianca one more time. I think we're probably going to have roll your eyes. Yes, I think we're going to have Becky and Rhea a little bit go head to head, and then it's going to lead to probably, I don't know where they're going to go, but I think a Becky Rhea Belair triple threat match at Rumble could be good.
Could be. I kind of see. Okay, let's. They're pushing Ripley right now. I see Ripley Becky at the Rumble, and then possibly giving Ripley a push at the title. I don't know if that'll happen at Mania, but they certainly teased that. Obviously, they teased Ripley and Becky. It's rumored that Belair is going to have a WrestleMania match against Charlotte. They have been teasing something with Bliss as well, with she wasn't
all the
paying
Bray stuff.
attention
Yeah.
and some of the Bray stuff. Um, It'll be interesting. But I feel like they're actually working towards like a more of a Bailey and Becky feud at the moment, right? Like
Yeah, possibly.
there's a lot of ways they can go with it in any case. Okay, let's move on. AJ Styles and Finn Balor in a back and forth encounter that led to Judgment Day and OC battling outside the ring and leaving Styles and Balor alone. Styles looked like getting the win with the calf crusher. Finn made a comeback, but then Styles ended up getting the win. What did you think?
Look, once they got all the schmozzle out of the way of the other teams, and we spoke about this, and you said you thought it was going to be an amazing match, but then it kind of, and I agree with you. Once they got all that stuff out of the way, it sort of broke down a little bit, and it was a good back and forth match between the two. I think we can see more from these two 100%. But just the whole team factor and the OC and the Judgment Day coming into it just kind of it ruins it for it. If they were two individual people going at it, it could be one of the best feuds of the year next year. Hopefully they can possibly get to that, or they could go away from it for a while and then come back to it, maybe SummerSlam or something like that. Give it a 6-month burn. Look, I gave it a 2 count. I thought it was a good match, and I think AJ winning was the right decision.
Absolutely. That was his first singles pay-per-view win in 3 years.
Yeah, we talked about, I said to you on the preview, or maybe 2 previews ago, I said AJ hasn't won a premium live event match in a very long time. I didn't know how long it was. But then once after the match, I was like, it's been 3 years. That's crazy. Now
It
that's
is
a company
it was
man.
crazy.
If that's not a company man, I don't know what is.
Absolutely. I gave it a 2 count as well. Like you said before, like I think expectations hurt this match a lot.
Yeah.
You expected it to be an absolute barn burner, and it was a really, really good match.
It was. It
But
could
the
have been more.
expectations hurt it.
Yeah.
So has this feud ended with Judgment Day and the OC?
Yeah. Like I said, I think it's a long burn that we can come back to.
Yeah. I think they tried to end it on the Raw following Survivor Series, and now it looks like OC, no, sorry, Judgment Day are kind of fighting down the Street Profits now, and
But
who knows
guess
where they'll go.
It's 1-1, right? It's 1-1 essentially. It wasn't a one-on-one match the first, but it's 1-1. You come back to it in a few months, or you can tease it at the Rumble if you want. They can be the only two in the ring at one stage. They can have a barnstorming little one-on-one for 2 minutes or something, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see when Damian Priest gets a singles match again. It feels like it's been a while since he's had one.
Yeah, probably. That's a good
taking a backseat to Finn. All right, let's move on. The SmackDown Women's Championship match. Ronda Rousey and Shotzi. Rousey had control of this one for most of it. There was a fun spot where Shotzi took out Rousey, Baszler, and some planted fans, no doubt, in a dive. But Rousey got her in the armbar for the submission win. I'll get through this quick. I gave it a 1 count. Rousey's still got a lot of work to do to put on a good match. Shotzi kind of held her own, but it was not a good looking match.
Look, I gave it a half count, and it was not good. The whole spot with the DDT on the outside, Rousey held onto the rope. It looked terrible.
Yeah.
It was just, I don't know, she wasn't selling properly. Shotzi tried to do a few things, but she didn't look good either. I just really struggled through this one. It was a half count for me, and that was a stretch.
I mentioned they brought Brian Kendrick in to produce this match, but they've just really got. I mean, Rousey's got a lot of disadvantages when it comes to rest. She hasn't grown up through it. She came straight in as a champion. They need to work around what she can do and what she can't do, and they certainly didn't do that there.
But go back to when she wore the gi and everything else, and they used the gi in the match and all that kind of stuff with the strap and everything. They steered into that skid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was different. Now they're just, ever since she's come back, her mic work isn't great either. The fans hate her. I struggle with it. It's really bad. And if they're trying to push her versus Charlotte at Mania, or her versus Becky at Mania, or even if Sasha comes back or whatever, they're talking about doing the female match with Ronda on night 1. Nobody's going to want that on night 1 at WrestleMania.
They
I
need
know, I know we're 4 months away from that, but Dill, I'm telling you now, nobody wants that now.
no,
Like,
and it's got to be Charlotte, Becky, or Sasha. Someone who can carry Ronda through the match.
exactly right. Yeah. Even
Um,
Belair, even if it was title for title with Belair or something, like Belair's not going to carry Ronda through the match. Belair's amazing, but Ronda's going to try and do too much against Belair because Belair's so dominant. And
yeah.
Ronda wants to be the dominant one, whereas the other three can sell for her and carry her through that. And I just don't think it's going to work.
I tell you what, I don't mind about Rousey, and that's Baszler. I
Yeah.
like I like the dynamic they've got there. They're the two. Baszler's almost like her attack dog.
Yeah.
She'll go out. I hope the aim is for them to take on each other, but I hope they slow play it.
Yeah. Make him the tag champs then.
Yeah, slow play it. Do a Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter deal. It's something like that. Yeah,
Exactly
AEW
right.
did that so well, and maybe Rousey is trying to instill confidence in Baszler. You need to get back to being this absolute killer. Maybe in the end she just realizes, well, I'm gonna kill you then. So
Well, yeah. Rousey loses the title, and then Rousey helps Baszler win the title, essentially, like you said, with the AEW. And then, like, we're probably going to see that in AEW coming. And
I mean, we forget that Baszler was one of the most dominant NXT champions
yeah,
we've ever seen.
yeah,
She's been kind of put on the slow burner for a while for WWE, and I hope they really slow play this out, but do it well, because I think
it
Baszler
could
could
work.
be a really good dominant champion.
Agree. Completely
All right,
agree.
let's move on. We talked enough about that match, which
We
probably
talked
didn't
too
warrant
much
so
about
much.
that match.
Now this match we should talk about, the US Championship triple threat match, Rollins, Lashley, and Theory. Great action, great storytelling, false finishes galore, an unpredictable end, except to some people who put some money on Austin Theory.
Hey,
But Theory got the pin after Lashley speared Rollins while he was in the middle of a Falcon Arrow. Great
how good
ending.
was that?
Great ending. Straight off the bat, I'll tell you, I gave it a 2.5 count.
Wow. Okay. Tell me more.
I like Theory's new character. He's not playing as much of the chicken shit heel,
Yeah.
but still a little bit. He got lucky with the win. I think him and Rollins have probably got another date in the future. Lashley's probably going to turn his attention to Lesnar, but just the way they story told in that match,
Yeah.
and I love a good false finish. I mean, who doesn't love a good false finish? Especially when you got a few dollars riding on it as well.
Well, I texted you straight away after I watched it, and I said, "Great match, what a finish! It worked so well."
Yeah,
And that were my exact words, because it just, the way they did it, you know, I said that Rollins was going to win, but you were exactly right. The way that it worked, Lashley did that move, and then Austin Theory essentially chicken shit win.
yeah,
But then, as you said, his character recently is just been not that, and it's kind of half at the moment, and I like that. And they're going to steer into both ways. He's going to be an angry person, but he's also going to run away every now and then, which
yeah.
is great. And the fans are going to hate him for it. And that's exactly what we want. We need the fans to absolutely hate him and him to become the biggest heel, like Rollins was a couple of years ago.
He's got a lot of Rollins qualities to him.
Well, he was part of Rollins's team when Rollins was the Messiah, wasn't he? Not him and Buddy Murphy.
Yeah,
like they were his two disciples. So, like, I mean, they can steer into that a little bit as well. So I mean, it was a great match. I gave it a 2 count, but I almost gave it a 2.5. But I gave it a 2 count. I think it was a great match and a great finish.
I mean, I don't want to blow too much smoke up Austin Theory's ass, but he's one of those. He doesn't botch moves.
No,
he's so crisp in the ring that I mean, you kind of sometimes that gets lost in the matches, just how just good they are at taking bumps and performing all the moves without botching anything. And he's just one of those guys, just so crisp.
Well, almost spoiler. I was gonna put this into the draft, and I don't know if you will or not, but that whole Lesnar and him in the elimination chamber stuff, that was really good. I didn't put it into my draft picks, but remember, he was really good with that stuff.
Absolutely. And that just lends itself to other people wanting to work with you too.
Yeah.
Now, if you're putting them over, you're safe to work with, you look good doing everything. Okay, that's enough about Austin Theory. I used to hate the guy, and now I'm just
No, I'm a fan. I'm a fan. I'm with you.
anyway. All right, let's move on to the main event, the War Games match, the Bloodline against the Brawling Brutes, McIntyre and Owens.
One and done, baby.
Storytelling at its best.
It was.
Butch and Jey Uso, they kick things off. Holland entered. As Jimmy was about to go out, Reigns stopped him and sent out Sami instead. Some great storytelling there. Tension between Sami and Jey. I mean, this was really the Sami and Jey show. Jey hit Sami with a super kick accidentally. Some good spots, but it was mostly about telling the story in this match. Zayn stopped the referee's arm coming down for a 3 count after Owens hit Reigns with the stunner. Then Sami ended up low blowing KO, which allowed Jey to hit the splash and get the win. And then big hugs from Sami and Jey afterwards.
It's all about the hugs.
He's now officially a part of the bloodline.
No more honorary use. He's just an oos now.
That's right. Now, what did you think about the match? You go first.
Like you said, storytelling at its best. There was a couple of things I didn't really like about the match. The whole what's Sheamus's move when
the 12 beats of the
brother or something. Whatever it's called. Yeah. When all of them were doing it, I think that was just a bit too much.
It was a bit on the nose.
That put me off a little bit. But there was so many good spots in the match. Like you said, the storytelling of Jey and Sami. But I gave it a 2.5 count. I thought it was a really good match, but mainly for what they were building to and the storytelling of the match.
Mate, you've basically taken what I've written here. I gave it a 2.5 as well. It was a 2 count match, extra half count for the storytelling.
Yeah.
Great stuff. Now, Reigns kind of has 3 competitors in Owens, Sheamus, and McIntyre. Looks like they're going towards KO, and Sheamus and McIntyre set their eyes on the tag titles. What I don't see happening anytime soon now, though, is the Owens and Zayn against the Usos match.
No, I think it's going to build to that. It's going to definitely build to that. What I seen while I was watching that match, I was thinking 4-way match the whole time between those 4, like you just said. It was looking like a 4-way match at Rumble or something like that. The way they were building it. But then Sami doing what he did, and then Jey getting the win.
I mean, the way I say it's gonna be hard for Owens to forgive the low blow from Sami Zayn for a while.
Elimination Chamber turns on the bloodline. You've got Roman, Jey, Sami, and then you've got KO, Drew, and Sheamus.
Yeah.
Elimination Chamber, and then Sami turns.
Here's a quick thought. Here's a quick thought as to why they won't turn Sami anytime soon. I guarantee you they're selling a lot of merch right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So
yeah.
We will see. Anyway, in any case, it's freaking fun.
It's fun.
Sami and the Usos ride.
Well, I guess we go into the whole after this, and I sent you the picture, and I said storytelling at its best. You've got Jimmy, Roman, Jey, Sami, and then Solo over here. And there was that picture of Roman just looking. It looked like he was looking straight at Solo because everyone was cheering, and Solo was just standing there like that. And it was like, why isn't he cheering? And I feel like that's where they're going to go a little bit as well. And they have steered into that a little bit. I think Solo is going to be that whole person that's going to turn a little bit. And this is where I'm going with this. They're talking about Rock coming back at Mania. Here's my thing. Solo's going to do the whole, I did it for the Rock. He's going to steer into his dad, and he's going to bring the Rock in, and Solo's going to cost Roman for the Rock. You heard it here first. You heard it here first.
You know what? That leads into what I was going to talk about next. So I don't know if you've been watching Young Rock lately, but basically the Rock went over to this made up country where someone had, it's in 2030 something, right? Where the president had this rock shrine room. Now they had like the Brahma Bull belt, and they had the Undisputed Championship belt.
It was right in the middle, wasn't it?
And then they had the undisputed blue championship belt,
Universal. Yeah,
as
they
if
did.
The Rock had won it
Yeah,
previously.
yeah. I did it for The Rock. He's gonna do it for his dad, like the dad couldn't do it for him, and The Rock's gonna challenge Roman.
All right, Benny, I'd love to see the odds for that.
3 Count Podcast heard it here first.
Love to see the. I'm not a gambling man, but I'd love to see the odds for that. All right, well, that is it for Survivor Series War Games. It is time to move on to our 3-count draft.
Just
The
quickly,
best cage spots. Oh, sorry, Benny. Yes, go
I
ahead.
feel like we just made it sound like better than what it was. At the beginning of this pod, I said it wasn't that good. And then after everything I've just said, it sounds like it was better than what it was. So I guess I did enjoy it a little bit. I don't know.
It was enjoyable. It's kind of hard when you've got a pay-per-view with just 5 matches.
Yeah. Well, we didn't get our Bray versus LA Knight match that we thought, but that's going to be a long burn, like we said.
No.
But yeah, anyway, let's move on. Draft time.
Let's move on. Draft time. Best cage match spots. Benny, you have the first pick. Now, do you agree that there's a 101?
What do you think the 101 is?
I think there's 2 that could be 101.
Well, I think they're both in the same match, but I'm going to group them into one match.
You can't do that. It's best spots.
So you think the 2 come from the one match?
I do.
See, that's not fair because now you're going to try and tell me that the other one. Okay.
Best cage match spots is the draft.
All right. Well, it's King of the Ring 98.
Absolutely.
And
which one?
Well, I agree. Best spots watching it, or I'm going with when Undertaker threw Mankind off the top through the announce table.
I think that is the kind of clear 101.
Yeah, it is. And JR's commentary made it even better. And it was absolutely amazing watching it. As
scary.
14-year-old kid watching that going, holy shit, what has just happened? And if you take the other one as number 2 or number 1 for you, that's fair because the other spot was probably more dangerous.
Okay, well, that's exactly what I'm doing. They were my 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Foley Taker choke slam through the roof. King of the Ring 98. Foley with his tooth in his nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, just nasty stuff.
Completely agree.
But yeah, so and they knew it was going to come apart, but geez,
the fact that he went back out there, got back up there, and did that as well.
It looks so unplanned and just so that's a bump.
It was.
That's a bump and a half.
All right. So number 2, I've got so many here, and I just don't know which one. Number 2.
It gets murky now.
Well, yeah, as I said, I've got quite a few. I think I'm going to go with exactly the same bump that you just took as your number 1, and that's Triple H and Foley at No Way Out 2000.
All right.
He took exactly the same bump, but they made it look a lot safer. But the fact that there was the indent into the ring and just the way they did it, it was a little bit safer, but it still looked very similar to the first one, and it was scary as well.
Yeah. Okay. Good call there. All right. This is tough. Okay. I am going to take.
I guarantee you I've got one that you will not have.
Okay. Well, I didn't have Triple H and Foley, to be honest.
Really? There you go.
I didn't.
Right, I give up. I'm out. See you later, guys.
All right. I'm going to take. Think of him what you will, but the Benoit headbutt off the top of the cage onto Kurt Angle in Raw in 2001. A headbutt.
Damn you. That was my
headbutt from the top of the cage. No wonder the guy had CTE.
That was my next pick.
That was nasty stuff.
Crazy. Oh, now you've made it hard. All right, I've got one here that fully loaded 2000. IC title, Rikishi versus Val Venus. Rikishi did the splash off the top of the cage onto Val
I,
Venus.
I did have that written down.
Now, if that's not a spot, I don't know what a spot is. That man is 300 and something pounds, and Val Venus took. It doesn't matter if he like lands a little bit short of him, and like that's gonna hurt. And Val took it beautifully, and
that's ballsy stuff from Val Venus.
Off the top, Rikishi.
Yeah. I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that spot.
No way. Like, what going through this, and then I remember it, but then when I was watching those, because I went down a YouTube rabbit hole, obviously,
As
and
you do.
Watched it again, and I just went, "Oh my! How did that even happen?" That was amazing.
Absolute craziness.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I am going to take Ray Phoenix jumping off the top of the cage at All Out 2021.
Fair.
Insane spot.
Fair.
But those guys are insane. But it was just a simple dive. It was just a simple dive, but the height he got and just how far out he went and how high that cage was.
No value for life, those guys, though.
No, absolutely not.
Every time they get in the ring, they don't care.
Absolutely not. So Ray Phoenix with my third pick.
Oh, now you haven't taken anything that I was going to take, so I'm a bit. That means I've got some good honorable mentions.
Yeah, there's a lot of good honorable mentions here.
But I'm going to go with one that leads to Foley going off the cage essentially, and it was something that he watched as a youngster and made him want to do what it was, and that's Jimmy Superfly Snuka with the elbow, Madison Square Garden, 1983, off the top. That sort of set the precedent for all future cage matches. So I have to take that one.
Absolutely, it did. Onto Don Morocco.
Yeah.
At the time, craziness. Good year, 1983.
84 was better.
Yeah. So yes, Jimmy Snuka off the top of the cage. Great pick there. All right, I've got two to go. I'm gonna go with another AEW one here, and that was the Cesaro swing on top of the Blood and Guts cage on Jericho. I remember at the time I was just like, "Oh my god,
it's right there."
I cannot believe he's doing that, and I think Jericho mentioned just how like freaking scared he was doing that.
He said he had all the confidence in Cesaro, but I mean, yeah. But I mean, that was still scary as anything.
Yeah, very scary. So the Cesaro swing on top of the Blood and Guts cage.
Oh, now see, I don't know which one to take. All right, I'm going to take the one that I knew you would never take. And this is my last pick, right? I feel like this was a schmoz and it was a stupid gimmick match, but it's Halloween Havoc 1989, Sting and Ric Flair versus Terry Funk and the Great Muta. It was a steel cage, but it had sort of a top on it, and the top of the cage was electrified. Now, if you haven't seen this, Dylan, you look like you haven't seen it.
If I have, it's been a long time.
It was one of my first memories watching it on my uncle's VHS. Halloween Havoc 89. There was two managers. I can't remember. Gary Hart was one, and I can't remember who was the other one. Bruno Sammartino was the referee. It was a massive match in WCW, but the top of the cage was electrified. Now, Great Muta climbed up a couple of times, and he got electrified at the beginning. But then by the end of the match, he got past the electric stuff, and he was just hanging from the top of the cage. And for me, it's one of my earliest memories of a cage match, and I had to put it in here for nostalgia purposes. So Sting and Ric Flair got the win, and Ollie Anderson was the other manager, and it was a great match. Go back.
That sounds like a lot of people. Who is it? Muta and
Funk versus Sting and Ric Flair.
All right, crazy. I do not remember that one, and you're right.
Bruno was the ref.
That was not on my list.
It's a crazy match. Stupid doesn't make any sense, but I had to put it in here because it was a cage match for me that I remember.
Well, a bit of an out there one for my fifth pick as well. I don't know if you'd seen it, but I'm going to go with a TNA match.
No.
So, Turning Point 2004, Elix Skipper. He walked along. Now, the cage was just
Across
a
the top.
single pole. He
Yeah.
walked along the top and
Yep.
then gave a Hurricane Rana to James Storm. And it just off the top of the cage, the walking along was crazy. The Hurricane Rana was crazy.
As he was walking, though, he went like that. I don't know how he kept himself up there. Prime time Elix Skipper, man. He was one of my faves.
And yeah, that spot was just incredible.
Yeah, great
so
spot.
Elix Skipper with my 5th pick there.
Yeah.
All right, Benny, it's time for honorable mentions. Who you got?
We've got Shane and Taker at WrestleMania 32.
Yep.
That's surely one. Rikishi off the top of the cell into the back of the truck.
At Armageddon, yeah.
Yeah. What else have I got? I've got one for you actually. CM Punk versus Ryback and Paul Heyman.
Okay. I didn't have this one.
At the end of the match, Punk got up on top of the cage because Heyman hid on top of the cage the whole time, on top of the cell. And then Punk got up there, smashed him with the kendo stick, and then gave him the GTS on top of the cell.
Right.
So yeah, that was an interesting one. And then what else have I got? Taker HBK 97. It was the Kane introduction, but earlier in the match, HBK was hanging off the top and then went through the announce table.
Yep.
I think that was another good one.
Yeah, that was like the precursor to the Mick Foley going off the top.
Yeah. Well, that was the first ever Hell in a Cell. So
yeah,
they were my honorable mentions.
All right, so I had now Kurt Angle does a brilliant moonsault just in general, but he did one from the top of the cage at TNA Lockdown against Mr. Anderson in 2010, which was just, you got to see it to believe it.
Yeah.
I originally had the RVD 5-star frog splash in the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah.
But then I rewatched it and it didn't look that great.
It originally in memory it looks great, but then if you rewatch it,
it was a good idea.
Awkward. It was awkward.
But it was very
high enough.
Yeah, he had to go out instead of up, and that was tough for him.
Yeah.
Jeff Hardy, Whisper in the Wind from the top of the cage on Umaga in 2008 on an episode of Raw. Feel like there's a few Shane O'Mac ones. So he did another one, the exact same spot against Taker against when he was against Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. He was going for the elbow drop off the top of the cage. Sami Zayn moved Kevin Owens out of the way. I had the Ricochet double moonsault at War Games in 2018.
That should have probably been in one of our picks, to be honest.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
And the last one I had, which was from that Blood and Guts match as well, which I drafted ones for, was Eddie Kingston throwing Sammy Guevara off the cage.
Yeah.
Which was a very scary spot. But
what about a non-honorable mention was when Chris Jericho went off the top through some cardboard boxes. Remember that one?
I do remember that one.
That was a non-honorable mention, but yeah.
Yeah, there's been some great spots along the way. So Benny, you got Foley and Taker thrown off the top of Hell in a Cell. You got Triple H and Foley at No Way Out. Rikishi splashing Val Venus off the top of the cage. The famous Jimmy Snuka splash off the top of the cage on Don Morocco. And Sting and Flair and Great Muta and Terry Funk at Halloween.
Go watch it. I'm telling
89.
you now.
I will. That's going to be my work day tomorrow. Halloween Havoc 89.
That's your homework.
That's my homework. Okay, I had Foley and Taker the choke slam through the roof of Hell in a Cell. The Benoit headbutt off the top of the cage on Kurt Angle. Ray Phoenix taking out everyone at All Out 2021. The Cesaro swing on top of the Blood and Guts cage on Jericho. And Elix Skipper walking the tightrope before doing a Hurricane Rana at TNA Turning Point 2004.
Prime time.
Good draft.
Good draft.
I enjoyed that. That was good. Well, that is it for the show this week. And that is it for 2022 for the 3 Count podcast. We're going to be back in 2023. We're going to preview Benny's favorite show of the year, the Royal Rumble.
The Rumble.
It's coming up. It's coming up. Thanks for joining us, Benny.
Thank you very much, Dill. Have a good Christmas. Everybody out there, have a great, happy holidays, and we'll see you in 2023.
Absolutely. Good, Chrissy. Happy New Year. And we'll see you again next time on the 3 Count podcast.